Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's stream. We are officially back full time, set up, ready to go. No more holidays booked, no more international travel except for WCW, but that is a lot less days. So, first of all, thank you very much all for your patience whilst I've been away at the WTC. It means a lot to me that I'm able to go and do this, and know that you guys are still waiting for me to come back. And I'm bringing back a gift. I'm bringing back content. But before we get into the content, um, please remember to like the stream, like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the stream, and it's been so long since I've done this. Apologies, rusty. Cool. Um, First things first, you'll see the two channel sponsors up in each corner. We are proudly sponsored by both Mighty Media Games over in Cheshire, whose shiny new scorepads, in fact, I took to WTC, and I would like to have used them every round. They were better than the score sheets that we had to use, unfortunately, but due to the nature of the competition, we use what the refs tell us to use. Touch on that later. And Resin Wargames, both which, Resin Wargames provides high quality tabletop miniatures that are 3D printed as suitable proxies for wargames or standalone games themselves. Use code top of the table at checkout with Etsy, and you will get 20% off your order. Free shipping in the UK, and I believe in the UK, and at cost for anywhere outside of the UK. For Mighty Media Games, you will be able to find an affiliate link down below, and they are very generously one of the main channel sponsors and have enabled me to turn this what I've turned into. So I'm immeasurably grateful to both of Phil and Nate for supporting the channel. With that all said, if you'd like to support the channel directly, there are memberships available, super chats, and super thanks if you are watching on demand. All of the money that the channel makes goes straight back into the channel, as I would like to improve this and make this as good as possible for you guys at home, included but not limited to my IKEA trip to sort this storage out in the coming weeks. Cool, so time to get into the actual Talking Heads bit. This is going to be a bit less structured than my previous Talking Heads videos. It's going to be about my experience at the WTC. So this is my second year with Team Ireland, my first year playing. So technically a rookie, although last year I was in Mechlin with the team as a coach. I had a great experience there. Now I've got to see it from the players' experience. So this year was in Austria, in Leoben, which we thought would be a fantastic idea to drive to. Myself and my teammate Sam loaded up into a van, and on the Monday, the 4th, so the day after the ITT, for those of you in the UK, we were up at 3:05 to go and get the 5 o'clock Eurostar. What then followed was 16 hours of driving, not the 12 that the Google Maps suggested as we went through Germany, and there were some serious delays. We ended up getting to the venue quite late. But that was great. We spent a few days boot camping as Team Ireland. We had some guys from Team Wales join us for that, for some practice games, and the Norwegians as well to play some practice games. So it was really good to get that community feeling right off the bat, getting them warmed up into it because we weren't playing the War Masters GT. Followed that was 3 days of games. So the way that the WTC works is you have a pod phase and then a seeding phase. In the pod phase, based off of your previous 3 years of results at the WTC, you're assigned a tier. Ireland this year were tier 2. And from that, pods are drawn. And in 9 of the pods, there are 1 tier 1, 1 tier 2, 1 tier 3, and 1 tier 4. The exception being tier pod 10 this year, due to the fact there being 42 teams in attendance. They had an additional 2 tier 4 teams in there, based on a slightly different round robin in their group stage. But if you'd like more information on what the pods were and who were in it, you can find that in my other vlog I did, or Talking Heads that I did just before we went away. So please go check that out. You'll find it in the channel. And I go through my list in a bit more detail. The pod phases, you play the 3 other teams in your pod, and then based on your win rate out of that, as we go into Saturday and Sunday, you will play 4 more games. Play 1 game on Thursday night, 2 games on Friday, 2 games on Saturday, and 2 games on Sunday, for a total of 7 games. And then based on your result, you get your seeding for this year. And that is how the WTC is structured, and that's how it works. It is a team format, and it's 8-man teams. If you want to know more about what that means, I will be doing a video in the future on teams format, but super simply, My team pairs off against another, and we go through a pairings process where we will use attackers and defenders to pair off 8 games. In each of those games, the scores are not taken as 100 to X, they are taken in what is known as 20-0 format. This means that for every 5 points difference or differential between score is 1 WTC point or differential point. Culminating, your maximum score is 20, i.e., you beat your opponent by more than 50 points, and a 10-10 is a draw, meaning you are within 5. They are the sort of key terminologies as we go through this stream. So, start with my list. I am running GSC Lecoult's Assassination Edict. Not assassination, the detachment is Host of Ascension, and the detachment rule is Perfect Ambush. Perfect Ambush means that in the turn that I'm set up, I will have sustained hits and ignores cover, and as GSC, I have access to some resurgence mechanics to get units back as they're destroyed. I have 3 Benefactresses. One of them has Assassination Edict as an enhancement, which means that when her unit that she's leading targets a character unit, I will get +1 to hit. The Benefactresses all give their squad lethal hits, so I have 20-man bricks dropping down with sustained and lethals ignoring cover. They have a 18-inch range las cannon in their head that they can hazardous for an extra shot. The fun fact here that all GSC players love: Benefactresses have 3 wounds. There are no other hazardous weapons in the squad. They like to pop their own heads when they roll a 1. It's great. It's lots of fun when you reroll that 1 into a 1 as well. Following that up, I have a Primus and Nexus combo. These guys will be leading another 20-man squad. I have an enhancement on the Primus called a Flaw in their armor. That means that when he is set up until the end of the next fight phase, his squad will also have lethal hits. He gives his squad reroll hits. And the only difference in his 20-man squad that he's leading is instead of mining lasers, I have heavy stubbers, because buckets of dice with full rerolls and access to crits on 5 with stratagem is quite good. I have some other buff pieces that can take that damage. The Reduction Saboteur is my final character. She is an infiltrating lone op, who is my warlord. This is important for the Knights matchup because I just sit here at the backfield and they can never get their feel no pain. She has an ability where once per game, if you move within 9 inches of her, on a 2+, she can deal D3 plus 3 more wounds to you, which is quite nice. In terms of battle line, I have 3 units of Acolytes with Hand Flamers. You guys basically have what I refer to as rubric rerolls to wound, where they reroll 1s to wound all the time, but if you are touching an objective, they get full wound rerolls. The difference here is that rubrics care about who controls it. Acolytes. I have 1 squad of Acolytes with auto pistols. This is going to be giving the squad 3 heavy weapons, heavy mining tools that are anti-vehicle 4+, strength 6, AP -2, flat 3 damage. So quite good punching up into vehicles there. I have 4 squads of 20 neophyte hybrids and 1 squad of 10 neophyte hybrids. The 20-mans are all kitted out with the exception of the Primus squad, with 2 Webbers, 2 grenade launchers, 2 seismic cannons, and 2 mining lasers. Very efficient when they drop and get sustained. 20, 25 mil bases, 16, and then 4 32s. Means this unit has a hell of a footprint if I want to spread it out for screening, or it can be quite compact if I want to try and get it into corners. The 10-man squad are there just as early board control, non-committal scoring, as these guys have sticky objectives on their data sheet. If I put them on an objective, my opponent is forced to answer them, otherwise I'm going to start running away with primary without having to put more near it, which is very, very strong. They all have icons, which means that I can regenerate models. Also, very nice. Apologies while I take a breath. I have 3 Ridge Runners rounding out the list. These guys are all equipped with Survey Augers and heavy mortars. This means that whilst they will not be having the bonus to their ballistic skill, they will be, once they hit you, they point it at something they hit, and they can remove cover, and everything else that shoots it can get +1 AP. This is really good for early game if I want to just put 3 lots of indirect into something. 2 of those lots are going to be D6 plus with AP 1 ignorant cover. It's D6 plus 3 shots at strength 6. It's quite efficient, especially into certain matchups like elves or guard. It can really help chip through that. Their +1 AP also lasts for combat as well, which really helps some of the units punch up in combat. I have 3 units of 5 Atalan Jackals. These guys do mortars when they finish near you, and They're just fast. Everything with wheels in this list scouts 9 and moves 12. 3 mining lasers on the jackals are strength 12, which is a nice breakpoint, but their main value is scouting 9 forward, moving 12, throwing them mortals, sort of impact mortals when they finish the move, then throwing a grenade, and just here's randomly 6 mortal wounds on average, if not more. It definitely can spike to more. And last but not least, we have 2 units of 5 Pure Strain Gene Sealers. These guys are, I'm going to say they're the MVPs in my list. They infiltrate, they have 5 of Invuln with 2 wounds each, and they scout. They don't scout, sorry, they advance and charges. Tyranid ones that scout. But infiltrate, advance, and charge is a combination. Lets you do all sorts of really nasty stuff as go. So, that's my list. That's what I was running. In terms of Ireland's wider team comp, we had Dark Angels, we had Chaos Knights, we had Thousand Suns, Necrons, Death Guard, GSC, and I've forgotten the last 2. Sisters with Canis, and the other one will come to me as soon as we get into it. In our pod, we had Latvia, Spain, and who was the last one? I can probably look it up easily enough, but we'll get to it. I have this open. So, we'll start with round 1. We had Romania. There we go. That was the last one on our team. This is in supply drop, so it is the disappearing mission, and I hate it with a passion, as it's very polarized on who goes first and second. Really emphasize the strength of challenger cards. I played into Dorel, who had Ultramarine Gladius with a unique build. He had board choice, and he picked the lightest board possible, which we'll see why in a second. He has Marius Calgar and Robute Gilliman. Notably, this will not give him the bonus CP every turn, but Calgar is still mighty annoying with his always advanced fallback shoot charge. And Gilliman giving access to free stratagems and double oaths is still strong. They do benefit from the plus oaths gives now. There is 1 unit of Assault Intercessors that joined Calgar. 2 units of Assault Intercessors with Jump Pack for some chaff screen clearing and early screening. 1 unit of Infiltrators to hold the home field. 2 Predator Destructors. 2 Repulsor Executioners. And 2 Scout Squads. And then round out this with 2 Stormspeeder Hammer Strikes. So 2s of everything that's quite good and efficient in the Marine Codex. The big surprise here were the Repulsor Executioners. On this map that we played on, they were the MVP by far. I think each time they shot, they just picked up a 20-man through stacking Devastator Doctrine and +1 AP or ignoring cover. Gives them just enough to get over the line into me. This game was going fantastically for me. I got very strong early board control. I was able to get good holds on primary. And then turn 5 rolled around, and my opponent on supply drop had gone second. Was able to score 15 points for the primary, and score a bunch of challenger points, and all of his secondaries, meaning he scored 31 points in the last turn, with some low secondaries completing, whereas previously he'd scored 17, taking it from a 16-4 to a 10-10 in a single turn. I was slightly frustrated by this result, as I was in strong lead all the way through, but I was not able to convert before I lost too many assets. So well played to Dora there, keeping it as close as he did. He played it very well and very passively, just scoring the cards that he needed to and not getting too extending, which is how my list likes to capitalize into people. So, unfortunate start for round 1. We did end up winning the round, however, as our Death Guard also 10-10 Necrons. Our Dark Angels got a small win into Emperor's Children. Our Sisters had a small win to Chaos Knights. Our Chaos Demons, so Shadow Legion, that was the one I was forgetting. Many apologies, Tom. Took a good running at the Death Guard with 15 points there. Colin, our captain on Chaos Knights, getting a small win out of Leagues of Votan. And Sam with the Thousand Suns getting a big win out of the Thousand Suns mirror. Sam played this mirror several times. It is very, very flippy, but fortunately he has had plenty of experience of it. And our Necrons, unfortunately, jumping under the Imperial Knights bus on supply drop with a big loss there. Moving on into round 2, so day 2, round 1, we had Latvia. This was actually streamed on Wargames Live. They didn't really touch on my list too much because they had had enough of GSC at this point and Necrons as well. So we got on Hidden Supplies the very, very fun Horde mirror with all the res jank and all the positioning. I was against Sergey. I will say he was an absolute fantastic opponent. We were both playing very technical armies with lots of movements. He was very clear in explaining intent and discussing what was actually possible. and some of the little tricks that could be done, including reminding me that he could reanimate after I shoot at him, which I'll touch on in a second. But his list was a Catacomb Command Barge, Chronomancer, Illuminor Zeras. This will give all of the warriors +1 AP when they shoot, but also Armored Contempt built in, which when your army is principally AP1 ignoring cover, was a really, really strong counter into me. Imitate the Stormlord, 2 Locust Lords, one with the Veil of Darkness, one without. Orokin the Diviner, a Royal Warden with Netherrealm Casket, which is -1 to hit on the unit, or stealth on the unit, sorry. The Chronomancer gives the other unit hit, and another Royal Warden, which means, as you might be able to figure out, there are 2 squads of 20 warriors here. The Royal Wardens are going to give them fallback, shoot, and charge, and there is a strat in Awaken to give them advance, shoot, and charge. Oh no, it might just be advance and shoot. This paired very, very well with the Chronomancers. After it shoots, they can move, meaning that I very much needed to go first in order to jail this list on the deployment zone we were on, which was Hammer and Anvil, I believe. It is very susceptible to being jailed, especially if I had gone first. I got the infiltrate drop first, and I was able to set up everything. Unfortunately, I did not go first. I went second, and so Sergey was able to spend his turn 1 just advancing out everything and taking control of the midboard. But we'll get on to that in a second. Running out his list, he had a Ghost Arc, Canoptic Reanimator, 2 units of Crypto Thralls, a unit of Flayed Ones, and 2 units of 6 Locust Destroyers. The Locust Destroyers actually on Hidden Supplies were very, very good, as their damage 2 made them very efficient into my Gene Stealers, but also into my Jackals that are 2 wounds and 4 wounds on the quad bike. So the profiles lined up very well. I had a decent lead going second, was able to leverage the fact that I got a little bit lucky with some of my advances and turn 1 deep strikes when I was being shot at and going into reserves. That then allowed me to take a strong lead on the primary and keep Sergey down to a 4 rounds, I think it was, or 3 out of the 4 rounds scoring. Unfortunately, my coaches told me that we needed to push at some point as the round was not going too great, and I went for a go turn to go into his warrior squad. Normally the Primus brick with all the buffs, so I can go +1 to wounds, sustained hits, lethal hits, crits on 5s, +1 AP, ignoring cover, kills about 17 or 18 on average wounds, and it can easily spike up depending how many 5s I roll, especially when I go fishing with the hit. Unfortunately, this time it killed 9, so I was not able to do the damage that I wanted to into the warriors, and Sergey was able to use all the reanimation orbs and the res strats and everything else to get that warrior straight back to full strength, meaning that I wasn't able to push differential, and our score ended up as a 12-8 to me. So a small win for me there. However, as you see here, quite a big loss for the team. Latvia getting very good results. Chaos Knights 15-5 to our Dark Angels. Chaos Demons 14-6 to our Thousand Suns. Our sisters, I believe, played against Space Marines on stream. Yep, it was on Space Wolves. That was on the Wargames live stream, so check out Peter, show your support there. I got our win into Necrons. Our Death Guard got flipped by Thousand Suns. Michael, unfortunately, just could not answer the damage check quick enough, and then George was able to clear through. Tom, another very strong result with the Chaos Demons there into Imperial Knights. Colin with the Death Guard 10-10. And Hugh narrowly dropping behind 9 points to the Votan's 11. Very, very good result from Hugh here, as it was looking for a long time like he was going to get less than that. So everybody was able to dig in where they can. Unfortunately, a few swings did not go our way, and we lost the round. So heading into round 3, into Spain, we were 1 loss and 1 win. We were hoping to come out of the group stages with 2 wins, at least, but Spain are our Seed 1 nation, and they had already performed very, very strongly into Latvia and Romania as we go into round 5. So without spoiling the pairings too much, I played into Javier with Death Guard, and he was running Vectorum, one of the few people that actually played Vectorum at the event. It was a horrible list for me to play on Linchpin, I believe it was. Take and hold. It was just normal take and hold. He had map choice and was able to pick a fairly heavy map and hide. And we'll get to how the game went. So there was a Biologist Putrefier and a Malignant Plaguecaster leading a 10-man squad of Plague Marines. These guys were in a Rhino, and there's very interesting ways that can be done with them and Mortarion, as we'll get to in a second. Demon Prince of Nurgle with Revolting Regeneration. This functionally means that I can never kill him. Feel No Pain and the 2 up 4 up combo on a leave T11, maybe T12 model is just a little bit out of my stretch range to kill reliably without serious commitment. 2 Lords of Contagion leading Death Shroud. Mortarion, as I mentioned, himself, and the Tallyman for CP generation. The 10-man Plague Marines kitted out with mainly punching, but a little bit of shooting. 1 Chaos Rhino, 3 units of Death Shroud, so only 2 of them being led. A Fetid Bloat Drone with Heavy Blight Launchers ×2, and 2 units of 10 Poxwalkers. This game did not start very well for me at all. Javier was able to win the roll off the deployment, which meant that he could bring a unit of Poxwalkers across the midboard and stop all of my infiltrate and scout shenanigans. This meant that I knew I needed to go first, because otherwise he'd be able to stick the objectives and look to jail me. I deployed fairly aggressively because of this, and unfortunately came second. So Javier was able to get first and get a lot of board control with the sticky objectives. Fortunately, was able to fight my way out a little bit, but by turn 2, he had Mortarion on the center objective, the Rhino with the Plague Marines, plus the Demon Prince on the other one, and 6 of the 9 Death Shroud stood the other flank, meaning that I was forced to basically play my deployment zone and his deployment zone. I was able to leverage the 6-inch deep strike that the Cults have to turn 1 get into his deployment zone and cause some problems with putting him on a 0 for scoring it, actually. But it was too little. Not too late, because it was turn 1. But I was not able to keep up with the primary game once he had established control across the midboard and started pressuring my deployment zone. Deceptively fast, this list is how I'm going to describe it, when he gets to go first and just advance everything, either in Rhinos or Mortarion and the Demon Prince moving faster than 6 anyway. So, in terms of how the round went for us there, we were very narrow loss from Spain, I believe we're 3 points or 4 points off of a draw here. So we were scrapping for that draw, and we were very close. Our Death Guard got 12-8 into their Blood Angels. Their Knights was able to put a big win. Our Dark Angels, our Thousand Sons were able to get a small win out of the Necrons. Our Chaos Knights were able to get a big win out of the Orcs. This is Speed Freaks Orc list. So Spain had a lot of very different list builds. Very interesting to see how they paired them and how they played them. Such as Speed Freaks Orcs or Drukhari, one of the few brought Drukhari, was able to use the Haywire to get a 10-10 out of our sisters. The Votan were able to flip the Necrons for 15-5. Death Guard ended up winning 14-6 into me. Excuse me. And Chaos Knights, unable to repeat their previous performances into Chaos Knights for 5 points. However, with Tom taking the Chaos Knights meant I didn't have to, because that Chaos Knight build was triple Despoiler and double Tyrant, and the Tyrant is a 12-inch deep strike and So for both me and Tom, who have armies that rely on deep strikes a lot, they've done very well to get the 5 points there. Disappointing round for us. We were confident with our pairings into this, but some of the rules didn't come through. Mine notably among them. I predicted that I could get a draw out of this matchup. I wasn't expecting it to swing down quite so badly. Okay, moving into round 4. So after the group stage, we finished 1 win and 2 losses. We paired into, want to say it was Iceland. It was in fact Iceland. I ended up playing against Thorin and his Death Guard. So I was rewarded with my practice against Death Guard by more Death Guard. I'm the slightly different one, Mortarion's Hammer. Much more comfortable with this as a detachment, as it was expecting to see a lot of. So I repped it a little bit more. His list was double Lord of Contagions with a Lord of Virulence, 3 units of Death Shroud Terminators, 3 Bloat Drone with Bite Launchers, 2 Blight Haulers, and 3 Plague Burst Crawlers for the indirect, and 3 Poxwalkers. This game was Terraform, which is where you can do an action on an objective, and for the rest of the game from turn 2 onwards, at the end of each player's turn, you score points for however many objectives you terraform. You can do the terraform action in turn 1. I was able to go first in this, which was great news for me, because I was able to fully screen the board, get into his deployment zone and touch a bunch of his drones, and kill 2 units of Plague Bearers turn 1, and terraform all of the objectives. I scored 45 points in secondaries in primary by turn 3. Unfortunately, that's about where the good news stops for the GSC. Due to some not great timing on drawing certain secondaries, I think my primary secondary score in this game was 20-something points, whereas Thor's was able to score a lot more than that. In the end, he was able to leverage the fact that he went second to get a nice little bump of scoring at the end and some consistent challenger card scoring, paired with the fact that, as it turns out, GSC can sometimes really struggle to kill Death Shrouds when they hide behind walls on their map choice. Thorin was able to play this back for a 10-10 in the end. So, well played, Thorin. I think I had a bit of a complaint after this game about challenger cards between my round 1 and my round 4. I had given up about 40 points in challenger cards, and I was not pleased with them as a mechanic, especially when the player going second has already got a fairly good advantage on late game scoring. But in terms of how the rest of the round went, we were able to perform very strongly across our pairings, and we got the draw, the 1 point into a draw, in fact, so 1 point off a loss. So 10-10, GSC into Death Guard. Their Black Templar's Horde list, very interesting one. Also 10-10 our Death Guard, which was Mortarian's Hammer. Their World Eaters were able to push a small difference into the Necrons and get 15-5. Our Chaos Knights went into the League of Votann and was able to get a very big win there. By the accounts I've heard, the Votann went for killing some knights, didn't, and then the knights killed everything. We had Thousand Suns Mirror, and Sam pulled out a small win out of that. The last game to report, and actually secured as the draw. Their Eldari into the Dark Angels got a big win. Turns out the Eldar damage check is not just for vehicles, it applies to 15 Deathwing Knights as well, as found out. Our sisters were able to do what we built that list to do with Varl and Canis and go hunting for knights, getting a small win out of Chaos Knights there. And our demons took a small loss against Imperial Knights there, failing a few key damage checks at the time, meaning the Fade Thirster was not able to fade, instead just thirsted and then died. So, a good result for us there. We were happy with the draw, given how close the round was. We've already had close runs against Iceland, and on other days, those games can swing back up and put us into win territory. Moving on to round 5 then, this will be. We paired into Bulgaria, who were a lot of fun. Great guys. I ended up playing against Dennis and his Admech. This was my first game into Skitarii Hunter Cohort in about 6 months. Very, very confusing army if you've not played against it before. We were playing Scorched Earth, which is already a fairly drawish primary dominant mission. And I was very worried that if one player was able to win the Infiltrate roll-off and the Go First roll-off, they would be able to jail or just overrun their opponents. And Dennis did win both of those roll-offs, so I was reporting back to my coaches that it was going to go bad very quickly. However, I got a little bit lucky. Dennis's turn 1 didn't really connect, and then I was able to clear off just enough so that in my turn 2, I was able to kill all of his Rust Stalkers / Infiltrators and a unit of his Flamer Bats, and take the board control back from there and lean into some late game scoring. This game, we both sort of said it's very volatile, but if we both just play very safely, it's a fairly stable 10-10, favouring whoever goes first if they get the board control, which is how this played out. Dennis, in the end, able to sneak a 11-9 win out of me, which I was very happy with, considering how stacked against me it could have been. In terms of the wider round, we were able to win this, also by a point in the win bracket. Our sisters went into Chaos Demons, and this was 5 bigs. This can kill 5 big demons. I took a small loss into Admech. Our Chaos Knights went into Space Wolves and took a small loss. Space Wolves are very able to kill big knights. Thousand Suns did thousands of things into a Bully Boys Orc list that I absolutely did not ever want to go into. Either 15 or 18 Bully Boys with double war. I was never going to deal with that. So thankfully Sam took that and was able to flip that. Otherwise it could have been very bad news for me. Tyranids into Necrons was a small win to the Tyranids, with Invasion Fleet and Gene Stealer Bricks being able to delete a warrior squad in a single activation. crits on 5s and sustained hits. A key bit of information I forgot to tell Hugh before they went into the game. So they did well to get 9 points there. When I was like, yeah, it's fine. They won't kill the Warriors. Don't worry about it. Dark Angels into Death Guard was a 10-10. Death Guard into Sisters, we were able to get a small win out of. And Demons into Guard, Tom was able to keep it relatively close, considering how much OC that Guard list can pack. Guard list in general don't hate killing demons, and Shadow Legion is no exception to that. So we finally got another win under our belts as we headed into round 6, which was our friends across the pond, Wales. I ended up playing somehow into this. Did I not load the list? Might not have loaded the list. Into TAF, so spoiler alert, it goes well for the GSC when they get a board choice into Imperial Knights on a mission that requires you to play the mid board. I think we were just playing Linchpin, so really punishing for an army that can't leave the deployment zone. TAF was running Canis Rex, 2 Atropos, a Lancer and 3 Helverins, and a Callous Assassin. This was the ideal pairing for us. Ideally, we wanted to put GSC into Knights every time. So this was my chance to show that my metrics was right, and I know this matchup, and I know how to play it. Pretty much everything went wrong for me in this matchup. I went second, which is not good. It let TAF leave his deployment zone. Otherwise, had I gone first, I think quite comfortable for me. I made some mistakes with my positioning and resurrection, and TAF was able to capitalize on that using +1 OC stratagem that they have. Go from there. However, with all that said, I still had board choice. I won't bring it down, assassinate, and each of these big guys gives up 10 points total on that. It's 6 for bring it down and 4 for assassinate. The Helverins give up 2 points each, and the Calidus gives up just assassinate. TAF was left the game with just Canis and a Helverin on his home field, as he did not want to push him out because I killed him, which was the right thing to do. And he was able to claw some points out of this, meaning only a 17-3 win to the GSC there with our favourable matchup. So, as expected, but close nonetheless. You'll see here from the scores, another 1-point win for Ireland. Chaos Demons went into Eldar and took a small loss. This was expected. I won't say Josh was, I think, what Team Wales' highest scorer, so we're going to be looking for that win. So Tom played to score what points they could. Hugh into Death Guard. Necrons Death Guard is a fairly boring and standard matchup. 12-8 is within the expected range there, especially Linchpin. Whoever gets the primary control can probably get a small win out of that. T-Sons into Sisters. Liam was able to come home with a 16-point win for Wales there. A favourable matchup, I think, to the T-Sons, but we were ideally hoping for T-Sons into GSC or Mirror. I think that's where we gave them the pairings. They did not take the mirror, which resulted in our thousands of excuse me, going into he's been on channel before, fellow DRG member Gareth and the Necrons. I think Gareth made a small positional mistake early on, and Sam was able to lift a unit of Wraiths a turn earlier than expected, meaning he was able to flip that and get the big 20 out of it. Death Guard into Astra Militarum. Having spoke to Mike about this, Andy's list just has all the OC and lots of damage and can kill vehicles. I think it's very favoured for Guard in the first place, so getting any points out of that matchup is better than no points. Space Wolves into Dark Angels. When Kev went full send from the review or the feedback we got, a big win there for the Space Wolves for Wales. Myself bringing home 17 points for Knights, and Colin played other Gareth in the Chaos Knights Mirror. This game was over in about 45 minutes. They both sort of just went, well, this is going to be a coin flip. Let's see who dies first. Unfortunately, we got the winning side of that, which helped secure the win by 1 point. We had 3 big wins there, and the rest were small 2 large losses, really showing the importance of having an accurate matrix some of our matrices did not reflect these scorelines, which is part of the team's experience. But whilst I'm on the topic, Gareth Harris obviously is DRG, my local team. He's been on the channel before. So is Greg, who is a channel favourite, familiar face, especially when we started the channel. He was playing for Team England, and we had Mark Cromwell-Home being the captain for UN. So the local team sent 4 different players to 4 different nations at WTC, which is a big pat on the back for Dead Red Gaming and how good we are at Warhammer. Moving on into the last round, round 7, we played into Czechia. I ended up pairing into Wojtek, whose first thing he said to me was, I have played the Death Guard mirror 3 times, and I've played the GSC mirror. This is the 3rd time now, and he had like 1 game that was into Necrons or something. He played Tom Lehman's Team England's GSC, and I can't remember the other GSC player that he'd played. So he knew the matchup. He was very comfortable with it. He was using Champions of Contagion on, I think it was just another take and hold mission. That's all right. Double Lord of Contagion, a Lord of Poxes who gives like baby loan up to a unit, which was highly annoying for me trying to kill that. A Lord of Virulence who was running around on his own that I definitely didn't forget to screen in my backfield. A Malignant Plaguecaster and 2 Tallimans for CP generation. In terms of battle lines, there's 1 Plague Marine unit here to go with the Plaguecaster and Lord of Poxes, just be a really annoying little skirmish piece that has an annoying amount of damage. Being in Champions, it can benefit from like the fight first strat as well, making it hard to tie down. 2 units of Death Shroud, 3 units of 10 Poxwalkers, 2 units of 2 Chaos Spawn. These guys were the MVPs. I could not kill them to save my life. 3 Blight Launcher Drones and 2 Mephitic Blight Haulers, followed up with some allies, very unusually 2 Wardog Carnivores. We ended up playing on Search and Destroy. Wojtek had map choice and chose a fairly heavy map with the 2 large L's in the center facing inwards, meaning it's kind of hard for me to get angles once you get set up there. I was able to go first. I was able to execute my plan, which was jail, jail, jail. Unfortunately, it was not enough. Wojtek was able to fight through my jail very quickly, and due to the terrain and the spawn just not dying, he was able to push my screens back and get a small win there. Very experienced player. Probably my favourite game of the event. He was so much fun to play against. We had such a great game. It was a really good way to end my first WTC. Unfortunately for the team, we took quite a pounding here. Necron Mirror flipped away from us. Their Necron player is just very, very experienced with Necrons and had a lot of little tricks that when the guy that read the list said, yeah, it's just standard Necron list. Standard Necron list. Imperial Knights getting a big win into our sisters. As I understand this sort of turned into which Canis lives, and it was not ours. Sam Nash into Jakob. Blood Angels, a 10-10 draw there. A very close game. This game came right down to the wire. Unfortunately, Sam was not able to find any chances to push, Jakob being one of the stronger players on Czechia. Eldar into Death Guard being a 10-10. Our elves don't really like indirect, and once you start chipping away at those Hawk units, stuff dies quick. Wojtek was able to get 13 points out of me in the end. I definitely didn't get the score. So he did very, very well. He was able to push a good differential there, despite me flooding the board and jailing him for 3 turns. Tyranids into Dark Angels was 10-10. And then our Chaos Demons unfortunately tripped against the GSC Cults, and the Cults were able to use the late game scoring and challenger cards to pull back a 12-point win there. And CSM into Chaos Knights also went against us. We were expecting a bigger win from this, but turns out Vashtor's quite good at making things kill Knights, and it didn't go great for Colin there. So unfortunately, Czechia was able to take a very strong win here. I think 3 of these guys placed top 20 in War Masters in the GT, and Czechia overall, I think, finished 11. So very well done to them. They were a fantastic opponent. They got my vote for best opponents, as it happens. But that was our run at WTC. In terms of the placings, Ireland finished in a less than ideal 23rd out of 42 countries. A bit of a drop from our 13th place finish last year, but we have a very different team comp this year with 3 rookies on the team. I think we all did very, very well. Certainly, it was a great experience. So much fun to do. I'm definitely applying for it next year. I will bring you guys along as I did this year. Hopefully, try and get more, especially when we start focusing on factions a little bit more. I'm going to be a bit more of a faction specialist than I was this year, I think is the plan. So we'll see how that develops. So, apologies for this being a bit of a short stream than usual. I am still quite tired from traveling back. We drove back on Monday morning, and it was 16 hours back. It was 19 hours back in the end. Longer to drive home than it was to get here, thanks to delays at the Eurostar and whatnot. But regular 40k content is coming back next week. I will be trying to get victims back in the studio from Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting at. I want to give a time like 7 o'clock, but I can't because we haven't figured that out yet. But if you would like to be notified next time we go live, like the or subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you enjoyed this content, this Talking Heads content, or other videos, other live content that you see, go look at the battle reports, like them, let me know which ones you'd like in the comments. If you have any WTC questions or if there's any content you would like to see me make, let me know in the comments. Thank you for bearing with me whilst I get back into the swing of streaming, and we'll be back next week. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.